didn't like drawing. The teacher would be great. That long guy, the lengthy red guy.
Well, guys, it's 3 after, and what we're going to do today is watch some more presentations and get caught up on that. And second thing is that I got a lot of email messages being concerned about Red Shelf being unavailable, and within the last hour they fixed it. They sent me an email. So if you haven't done quiz 6, the book's open for you. And so let's take a look at some of your good work. And let's see. Okay. Let's make sure we got I know it has better volume because I saw this. All right. And I got like 3 volume controls here, so.
When the stela was found in 1901
Okay,
in
let's
Susa,
start over now so that we can hear it. We're good. I didn't check it, but we're good now. Take it from the top.
My name is Dylan Hudson, and the piece I chose for my narrative PowerPoint presentation was the Stela with the Laws of Hammurabi. I chose this piece because the Code of Hammurabi's historical and political value has paved the way for legislature in the United States and affects me and my loved ones to this day. The Stela was crafted in the kingdom of Babylonia. When the Stela was found in 1901 in Susa, which is modern-day Iran, it had only had minor damage to it, as it only had 3 major breaks and was found in 3 pieces. Today, the Stela is housed in the Louvre in Paris, where it's located in room 227 of the Richelieu Wing. In the writing itself, there's a prologue that describes the scene at the top called the Investor of Hammurabi, with Hammurabi and Shamash, the sun god and the Babylonian king of justice. They're in composite view, which means the people are in multiple different viewpoints at the same time, usually with the body in profile and the face looking forward. Hammurabi ruled from 1792 to 1750 BC, and the Code of Hammurabi set the precedent for all crimes committed and their consequences. Hammurabi united all of southern Mesopotamia while in his reign. The scene depicts Shamash gifting Hammurabi a scepter and a ring, which are signs of power. This exchange is supposed to convey to his people these laws are divine as they came from Shamash himself. There is 282 laws written on the Stela, and the concept of the 282 laws are written as an action and a consequence for that action. The Stela of Hammurabi is a Babylonian piece made of the stone basalt that was created between 1792 and 1750 BCE. The sculpture is 7 feet 4.5 inches tall. The stela is a relief sculpture at the top, and in the bottom it's inscripted in cuneiform in Akkadian language. A relief sculpture is a sculpture that is created by carving away the stone to create a 3D image connected to a 2D background. In the image on the right, it shows the scale from a 180 centimeter person to the stela of Hammurabi at 225 centimeters. The stela of Hammurabi and the importance in today's society. The stela of Hammurabi and Hammurabi's code is very important in the justice system, especially in the United States. This code is very important because it helps craft the presumption of innocence, which affects Americans more than know it. The presumption of innocence states that all accused of a crime are innocent until proven beyond a reasonable doubt that they are guilty of the crime they're being charged with. This clause allows for the accused to not be charged with crimes he did not commit and limit the amount of not guilty inmates in prison. Because this code was so important in the history of the United States, the Supreme Court building features a marble carving of Hammurabi as a historical lawmaker within the courtroom. Hammurabi's code is also the first documented written set of laws. On the right, it shows the marble carving that's in the Supreme Court's courtroom. Content within the laws of the stela of Hammurabi. Within the laws, there is provision about economics, family law, criminal law, civil law, and agriculture. The stela of Hammurabi and Hammurabi's code itself allows for the reader's context into how Babylon and early civilizations were developed. Classism is shown within the work by punishing those who had a lower economical standing more harshly than those with higher economical stature. And although the laws were created to maintain order in Babylon, they didn't consider a person's rights like the United States Constitution does. The laws themselves are said to be brutal for the current era, as capital punishment of the death penalty was a punishment for nearly 30 crimes. Eye for an eye, a statement a lot of people have probably heard of, comes from Hammurabi's code. On the right, there's an example of Hammurabi's code. It says, Hammurabi's code includes what we call today both criminal and civil law. Criminal law consists of rules that define conduct. One law said, if a son strikes his father, his hands shall be hung off. Civil law settles disputes among individuals. Hammurabi's code states, if a man builds a house badly and it falls and kills the owner, the builder is to be killed. If the owner's son was killed, then the builder's son is to be killed. Shows how it is an if-then sentence. These are the works cited for my narrative PowerPoint presentation. If you would like to look further into these sources, this also includes the transcript for this presentation.
And I hope you guys, when you're seeing these, are learning some things. I've learned a lot from what you guys have put together. And
The eye for an eye part, it makes sense, although by some of some of it, yeah.
well, the eye for an eye, that is, yeah, that is a thing. It's
Now, the part where they were saying if a son strikes his father, his hand should be honed off, does that mean like chopped off? Or-
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a term that's used like a lot in botany or something. It's like when you cut off limbs, they're hewn, H-E-W-N, so.
Yeah, I do have a little bit of a belief in an eye for an eye, but I also have. I draw the line somewhere and that crosses that line. right there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the farthest I would go is if you bully. If you like bully my friend, I'm going to literally kick you straight in the nuts in front of your friends.
Okay, yeah.
Is,
Yeah, I get it, and I think that, the idea of having the laws written, that is such an important part of civilization. When you have laws written instead of making up the laws as you go to suit yourself. And so this is kind of been, this is the legal end of it, but I mean, all of the holy books around the world, they have rules for acceptable behavior, how to be a good person. You can go to almost every one that was ever written, and it'll tell you how to be a better person and how to treat other people. And so a lot of the stuff in the Code of Hammurabi shows up in the Old Testament, shows up in the New Testament, shows up in a lot of places. And so let's take a look at, this is from Jewel, and
That for my presentation, I chose God is the creator of the world. Thank you, you can call it the Bible morality. I don't know about pronounce it right, so. The reason I chose it was, I thought it was very interesting and unique. I didn't have like a specific video of why I chose the specific image. I just seen it and then I just thought it was very interesting. I thought the artwork was very creative and unique. I thought they used a lot of detail, and I just wanted to know what was the meaning behind the image. What exactly God was doing in the photo, what he was holding. I want to know all that, the reasons of why he's holding it. But if you go back to it, there's no really reason on why I chose it. I just thought, I thought the image was cool, so I just chose it. All right, this slide is basically the cultural context. It tells you the time, the place, and the purpose. So the time, this time frame was being like between like, it was based off the 1200s, but it was based from the 1220s to the 1230s. The place, it was like in Paris, so Paris, France, situation. The purpose, there's like no really like specific purpose. But if you want to say, you could say God shapes the universe with the aid of the compass. So basically, that was like the main purpose of the photo, which was God creating the world. So technically, that was the purpose. But there was no like big, huge purpose of this photo or image. So the right of that, that's the map. It just shows Europe from like the 1200s. It shows the map of Europe. All right, this is also another cultural context, but this is / the background of like the image. The Bible Morales is one of the most famous illuminated manuscripts today. And it's basically a small Bible group of illustrated Bibles that were made in the 13th century, France and Spain. There is one full page piece that is really famous, and that is the one where God is the creator of the universe. So basically, you see the image on your right. It's the image on the left in the book, was God holding like the little compass thing. So that's like the most famous picture in that book. The exquisite frontispiece in the form of a gilded full-page miniature depicting God as the architect of the universe is what makes it truly famous. In the image, God steps out from the void, depicted with goal to give atoms and spaces feel and beings over the cosmos rolling in front of them, compass, and then the little compass in the center. So basically, that's the image. God holding a compass and creating the world. And yeah. Where this is a style, where does it come from? It comes, the Bible of Malice basically comes from France. The reason I said the Bible of Malice is because the image that I chose is in the book of the Bible of Malice. So they basically have like the connection of not the living. So it doesn't really matter if it's not talking about, because it's still like the same thing. So there are 7 surviving fully illustrated manuscripts of the Bible Malice. The group all date from the 13th to the 15th centuries, and they were all designed for the personal use of the French royal family. 4 were created in the early 13th century when church art dominated the 15th arts. Many artists were involved in the creation of each of the Bible Malices, and their identities and shared work and made included. So basically, they're unclear work, but they're like books. And there's like 7 illustrated ones. They all come from like France or Spain. And yeah, this is a so what's like really behind the Bible and well, it's complete in the theory behind it, there's really a theory, I would say. It is described as the initial condition of the universe when the latter days were glass and benefits the first day of the Bible God created society, earth and the heavens, the dead persons of the visual point, the chapter 7, emblematic image of the so-called Mandelbrot set in the so the picture of the word is likely Mandelbrot set. So basically what they're saying is they kind of represents that. The thing behind that's the thing. It basically looks like a Mandelbrot set. But other than that, there's not a big deal. How do you now on the college one. The person in power basically is God. He's the one who's put on this one. He's the one creating the world. But let's see, he's the one in power. The Bible allows things created to interpret and explain the scripture. So a God, the movement in the first half of the 18th century was on that place, perform that place, importing on pictures, place, teaching reality. Both the depiction and text must be made because any component interpretation of the world of movement in history, in detail, within the image place in my opinion. So basically, the words and the details in the image basically was the power image of big being to the power, but the main person who's like in power in charge is the God, basically as creating the world. Okay, this is the last part of the song. The last part of the song purpose. All of the purpose of the song basically really short sequence. So this is basically what purpose the purpose of art is showing the balance of beauty in the world, using the focus to show the feeling. How does the purpose of the image to show how the purpose of the art is is that in the life is basically painting what seems to be the power and very interesting. And we need to make something. So what this is basically is that the world is the most very practice to create something that will lead you to look at the world. Because he is creating. The purpose of the world is there's not really a purpose. The purpose is sometimes these one thing to those who to me, I feel like he is one thing to them. This is why I get to my work excited.
So I thought there, to me, this presentation brought up some pretty fundamental questions, and especially about religion and religion in the West. And I think that how should I say this? We've seen at various points in this course where mathematics was highly esteemed, where it was venerated. It was the Greeks. They invented much of the mathematics that we still use today, and we use a lot of Greek words to describe the mathematics, such as geometry, which means measuring the earth. The geo is the earth, and that word comes to mind, and all of that was pre-Christian. And I think that there's another kind of thing, especially with Christianity, where we get these periods where science and mathematics are embraced, and they're seen as evidence of God's perfection. And then there are other times when basically the church, the society retreats from science and mathematics. And one person that comes to mind there is Galileo. Made a telescope, started looking at the rest of the celestial bodies. Copernicus, who kind of figured out that the sun didn't revolve around the earth, but just the opposite happened. And so those people were punished for their scientific discoveries. But I think in this day and age, and I'm hoping this is the case, the people I know in science and math and medicine, I think they mostly marvel at God's work. And they say, whoa, this is more profound than I could have ever imagined. And so anyway, these are the kind of questions that pretty much revolve around this kind of art. And this represents a time when mathematics and science were being accepted and not shunned, and people were not being punished for knowledge, but rather an embrace of that. So anyway, oh, Blake, you're up.
This is gonna be.
This is good.
Something.
It is something. It's
The recording went pretty quick though.
yeah, we're good. And we got you right here. You're there, you're here, you're all over. All right.
Hey guys, Blake Frederick,
Sorry,
and
I had turned it up.
what my artwork and history that I'm doing is the story of Medusa. That's without further ado, let's get started. So first we're gonna go over just some tidbits on what Medusa is just, known for in general today. As many of you would probably know. And as many of you know, she's got serpents for hair. You look into her eyes, she will turn you to stone. And this is a little bit of a
All right. I gotta put this in here before I forget it. See, I'm old, I forget stuff. How many of you seen that Amazon commercial?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Medusa comes in. Well, basically, what she has is, she's turning everybody to stone, and she goes on Amazon and buys sunglasses. And then she comes into the club, and this guy starts flirting with her, and she pulls her sunglasses down and turns into stone. You ever see that?
I haven't,
Oh,
but
it's,
so basically the glasses prevented her from turning people to stone if they looked at her.
that's correct, yes.
That's honestly, I like that. That's a really cool tidbit. I did not know
Well,
about that.
Amazon had a number of commercials that are really based on the kind of cultural studies that we've done in this class. There's another one with Cleopatra, and
Yep.
you ever see that one? She gets an iPad.
Not by choice.
Yeah, anyway, just saying, all of this stuff that you guys present on, it's like often centuries, millennia old, but it's still part of today's culture. It's amazing.
lesser known fact, but I've met someone who knows this kind of. She's killed, her head was placed on the shield of Athena, the goddess who actually turned her this way after she was killed. And she's actually one of the most well-known icons of Greek mythology to this day. When people think of like Greek mythology, they think of like Medusa. And just the name, everyone knows just what she looks like and what she can do. I'm just gonna go over just a tiny little artwork because there's many different works of art that are very all similar in a way. This artwork in particular, her head on Athena's shield. This is probably one of the best ones I could find. This artwork is literally
There, sorry.
like when the shield was created, it's
I am just chopping up your presentation, Blake. I apologize. I'm gonna back this up again.
You didn't really get any farther than that. So.
it was just what she looks like and what she can do. I'm just gonna go over just a tiny little artwork because there's many different works of art that are very all similar in a way. This artwork in particular, her head on Athena's shield. This is probably one of the best ones I could find. This artwork is literally like when the shield was created. It's literally made of some goat skin and Greek metal that was nearly invincible. And another fun fact on here is this: the shield of Athena actually belonged to her father Zeus. Yes, that Zeus, who passed this down to her, and which is why it's made out of certain near invincible metal. And of course, it's got Medusa's head on the front. So Medusa's history, a lot of people know like what she is, or a human serpent, whatever. She's actually called a gorgon. And she wasn't always this way. She became this way. As I mentioned before, she was cursed. So once upon a time, Medusa was actually the most beautiful goddess ever. Like, she had the most luscious, beautiful hair. Like, she was literally adored by all, even by Goddess Athena herself, but mostly because she was pure. Now what does pure mean? Like pure of heart, pure good? Yes, those do come into play. When Athena called her pure, that it's kind of like when people who have, lost their V card or something. When people who haven't, been bumped ugly to someone, they're pure, they're virgins very much. And she was pure. She was very much loved by her luscious hair, her beautiful looks, and her purity. However, she was seduced and raped by Poseidon and lost her purity and had 2 illegitimate children with him as a result. Losing her purity is literally what caused her to enrage Goddess Athena. She was actually pissed off by this, and she cursed Medusa, turning her into what we know her as today. Basically the exact opposite of what she originally was. And later she was killed by the fallen hero Perseus, and her head was placed on Athena's shield as a symbol to intimidate and repel their enemies or evildoers. Essentially, using evil to repel evil. Now, what is the hidden meaning behind the Medusa artwork or symbol in general? My friend actually has a Medusa tattoo on her knee, and she told me that it was a symbol for sexual assault survivors. Kind of like how the puzzle piece is the autism symbol. And what the Medusa symbol does, it's very much similar to why her head was placed on Athena's shield and used as an evil symbol to intimidate and repel evil. Because even Medusa was revolting to even the most evil of people in Greek mythology. And that says something. It's basically because Medusa, if you really think about it, like a sexual assault survivor, was a victim. And having the Medusa symbol on you, or what it means, it's basically a way to raise awareness and break the stigma of victim blaming, and to basically ward off evil or toxicity in general. Like if someone was, being toxic to you, basically the Medusa symbol is a way to just say, no, I'm not dealing with that. Get that toxicity out of my life. Because nowadays, when people who have been victims of assault of any kind, they're a lot of times they're victim blaming. And I don't understand why. And that's what makes it hard for them to speak out. Medusa was actually a victim, and because she was victim blamed for what she was a victim to, it turned her into this bitter and horrid and evil creature. And literally, so in other words, having these symbol, it, to me at least, it's basically showing that victims of any form of assault, they shouldn't be punished. They shouldn't be punished, period. And that's literally what, because if you choose to, if you victim blame, or if you are being victim blamed by other people and by society and ostracized by that, what's gonna happen? You're gonna turn in, it's not gonna end well for someone who's been victim blamed. It's like they're basically society's labeling them no better than the person that sexually assaulted them. And that is wrong in every case. Victims of any form of assault or abuse, men or women, should not be punished like society. like how Medusa was cursed by Athena because she was raped. Here are my sources. If you guys have any questions, ask me. I'd be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
So this is the part where we get to ask you some questions, actually.
I did say.
Yeah, Carter.
I saw on your sources Yahoo Answers.
That
Very
was
much.
what, that was, I had other sources that also confirmed what it was like, that was like, I was like, it was that source and then another one had similar info in it. It's like they intertwine, so, but yes, yeah, it doesn't make sense why people are being blamed for being victims. That's literally what, that's the hidden meaning behind Medusa.
Well,
Yeah, honestly, it put a really interesting question in my head just now. Who's the worst monster? The monster or the person who made the monster?
That's actually a good way to sum it up.
and I'm talking about the stuff I've been learning from your presentations. One of the things I learned was that, see, I was gonna try to get through all of these last week, so we didn't talk about them much, I just kept playing them. And I wish we would have talked about them like we are today. I'm learning, but it's eating up the whole rest of our meeting times, but that's good, this is a good thing. Talking about things I learned, I never knew Medusa was a symbol for victims. I never ever knew that. And I think that to some extent, help me, you know more than I do on this. That you know, talking about victim blaming or victim shaming. We're, I think, in this day and age, I think we're finally coming around to recognize how wrong that is. But I remember when I was young, it wasn't like that. It was always blame the victim a lot. And so we're turning the corner. I don't think we're where we're supposed to be, but makes sense.
I mean, like, it's like Nathan said, what is it, the monster or the monster that created them? Medusa wasn't born this way, she was cursed this way. And I didn't know until like months ago, when my friend got the Medusa tattoo, where she told me what it meant.
Yeah,
And I didn't even know she was an assault survivor.
and yeah, and again, these things live on. 2,000 years ago or more, probably closer to 2,500. Greek mythology was formulated. Yeah. Very good, thank you. And so I got the Hagia Sophia right here. I'm Medina, and
Hello, my name is Sophia Martinova, and I'm doing a presentation over Hagia Sophia, which is also known as Hagia Sophia in English. I decided to choose Hagia Sophia as a subject of the presentation because it seemed interesting to me. I was converted from church or mosque several times, and over summer I traveled to Istanbul, Turkey, and I visited in one of the places, including Hagia Sophia as well. And Hagia Sophia was very pretty, and I love that it's all architecture, and it was really pretty. It was for tourists, and I'm going to include pictures in the end that I took personally by myself. Also, another reason I chose this was because I wanted to know more about its cultural background and history behind it. And hopefully I will provide information about this place. Hagia Sophia
was also known as the Church of the Holy Virgin in Constantinople, now Istanbul, Turkey. Building began in 532 and completed in 537. Its purpose was it served as a center of religious, political, and artistic life for Byzantine world. Hagia Sophia was originally built as a basilica for the Greek Orthodox Christian Church. Until Mehmed II's Ottoman Empire conquest of the city of Constantinople in 1453. It was commercialized as Hagia Sophia until the fall of the Ottoman Empire in the late 19th century. Then it became museum, then until recently in 2020, once again Hagia Sophia remains. Hagia Sophia is located in Turkey. In its power and belief system is that Turkey is a presidential representative democracy and constitutional republic with a fully formed multi-party system. And more than 99% of the population is Muslims. It holds religious significance as a symbol of harmony, peace, and tolerance in Turkey, and imperial power and divine authority. Formal analysis. Hagia Sophia building showcase features of both Christian and Islamic architecture, makes this monument a unique architectural masterpiece in Turkey, especially its 105-foot high main dome and interior, which is lined with enormous marble slabs and mosaics. As you can see in the picture, it has a picture of the main dome, which is 105 foot tall, and you can see the marbles and the word of Allah and Muhammad next to it, and in the middle there's a picture of the that is left from as it was built as the original church. Hagia Sophia was designed by Greek geometers and famous of pillars and doors of Melenicus. And building began in 532 and was completed in 537 AD. In the picture, you can see the dome and the mosaics and Arabic words inside, along with other masterpieces left from church. And as you can see now, this place is a mosque, which means now Muslims can pray inside. And now everyone can visit. And personally, I visited this place here and it was lovely. And it was full of tourists and lots of people visiting from different cultures, and it was really interesting to see how it was built. And I was actually proud of it. Was really significance of Hagia Sophia. Hagia Sophia is most important ecclesiastical building of Byzantine Empire. And will serve as a symbol of religious, political, and artistic life for Byzantine people. Hagia Sophia was never simply a place of worship for the Byzantines or the Ottomans. It was a symbol of imperial power and divine authority. This place, a monumental structure, was built in the 6th century by a Roman emperor Justinian as the world's largest cathedral. Later, it became a central building of Greek Orthodox Christianity in Eastern Roman Empire known as Byzantium. As I mentioned earlier, here are some pictures that I personally took. On the picture on the right, this is the outside of Hagia Sophia, and we are heading to the entrance, and this is where it was first in the you can see the big door inside this Hagia Sophia and with its dome. And as you can see, the doors are huge and they're so tall and they're very heavy. And from here you can enter Hagia Sophia inside. And before you enter, you have to remove your shoes. And visit Hagia Sophia from there. Here's me inside Hagia Sophia, looking at the dome and all the masterpieces and the mosque. As you can see, I was looking at the inner board and the marbles, and I was thinking how Hagia Sophia was that big, and I did not know the dome was that tall, and it was really pretty. As you can see in the picture, there's some Arabic words, and there's the marbles, and there's lights and all that. But if you see in person, everything is big, even the lights and the Arabic words are big. I did not know it was that big until I saw it with my eyes. During our trip, we went to Seven Hills Restaurant in there. We can have the best view of Sultan Ahmed Channel and Hagia Sophia Channel. They're both located across from each other, and from this restaurant we can have you can see both mosques, and it was really pretty. And the restaurant had very beautiful views, which you can see. I was eating some bird, and across from me was Hagia Sophia in the left, and on the right it's which is the mother side, it's Sultan Ahmed Channel. And we really like this restaurant so far because in one place you can see both of mosques clearly. I enjoyed every single minute of my time in Istanbul, Turkey. It was wonderful places, including Hagia Sophia, and I recommend everyone to visit Istanbul once in their lives. And the Hagia Sophia as well. And we was amazed how it was designed and how it was built in general. Thank you for watching, and here's some sources that I use to help me in my presentation. Thank you.
So, Medina, I thought there was something you said right at the beginning, Hagia Sophia, holy knowledge. And I wanted to kind of point that out. That was absolutely accurate. But Sophia, that's from the Greek. That means knowledge and wisdom. You can use it interchangeably. And so when you hear like another Greek term, philosophy, Philo, philo, is a kind of love. The Greeks had many names for different kinds of love, but platonic love and erotic love and philos, love. Sophia, knowledge. Philosophy is the love of knowledge and wisdom. So, any questions? Any well, in that case, let's look at a second presentation on the pyramids at Giza. And
Located on a plateau on the west bank of the Nile River, on the outskirts of modern-day Cairo, the Great Pyramids of Giza were constructed in a ring of King Khufu. He was the second king of the fourth dynasty of the Egyptian people. The Great Pyramid is just one of the three major pyramids of Giza that remain standing. The Pyramid of Khafre was made for the second oldest king of King Khufu's children. He was king when his father died and ascended to the pharaoh's role. The Pyramid of Menkaure is the third of the Great Pyramids. Menkaure was Khafre's son and built the third pyramid, was never finished in its place. So what was the purpose of it? They constructed massive pyramids for religious purposes. These purposes are not entirely known today, but what is known as they were built in order to allow the pharaoh who was buried in them to have a successful travel / journey into the afterlife. The pyramids were considered symbols of the sun, which was a very important symbol in the Egyptian culture. Some of the pyramid texts that were found inscribed on the walls of the royal pyramids start with Yunus. Here first the sun raises the ladder that the god king uses to descend to the heavens. Another quote from the inside of the pyramids is, "Ho, Yunus, you have not gone away dead, you have gone away alive. So you shall go forth, Yunus, to the sky and step up on it in this, its identity of the ladder." The culture during the time of the construction of the Great Pyramid is not entirely known, other than the Great Pyramid was crafted during King Khufu's reign. But the culture surrounding Egyptian people is well known to this day. The ancient Egyptian people lived mostly in modest homes, raised family, and enjoyed leisure time just like we do today. The significant difference between the Egyptian culture and other lands during the same time was that the Egyptians believed that the land was intimately tied to their personality, and they had a deep fear of dying beyond the borders of Egypt. Those who served the country in the army, or those who were merchants and traveled for a living, made provisions for their bodies to be returned to Egypt should they be killed. Egypt treated its women better than any of the other major civilizations in the world at the time. The Egyptians believed that the joy and happiness were legitimate goals of life, regardless of home and family, and saw those as the major source of delight. Because of this belief, women and most other people enjoyed a higher prestige in Egypt than any other culture in the ancient world. The question of how the pyramids were built has not received a wholly satisfactory answer. The most plausible one is that the Egyptians employed the sloping and encircling embankment of brick, earth, and sand, which was increased in height and length as the pyramid rose. Stone blocks were hauled up the ramp by means of sled, rollers, and levers. According to an ancient Greek historian, the pyramids took 20 years to construct and demanded the labor of 100,000 men. However, our professionals have found evidence is more likely a more limited workforce that may have occupied the site permanently rather than on a seasonal basis. It suggests that there were as few as 20,000 workers with the company's support personnel. Another giant misconception that experts have deemed is that they were not slaves who constructed the pyramids, but in fact skilled laborers whose job was it to construct the pyramids itself. Upon that, the Egyptian people saw the creation of the pyramids as a very important step in guiding them all to the afterlife. Jesus' function, although many theories persisted as to the purpose of the pyramid itself, most widely accepted and understanding theory is that it was constructed as a tomb for King Khufu, despite there no body being found inside. A more in-depth look at the why it was built is because of the important and unique role the pharaoh played and the importance of his life and death to his people. He was said to guide his people and those who were buried near him to accompany him in the afterlife and help with his journey so that he could be reincarnated as one of the gods. "4,000 years ago, the pyramids resembled more of a pillar / beacon of brilliant light just in the middle of the desert. Unfortunately, today, tomb robbers and other vandals in both ancient and modern times removed most of the bodies of funeral goods from the Egyptian pyramids and plundered their exteriors as well. Stripped of most of their smooth white limestone cover, the Great Pyramids no longer reach their original heights. For example, measures only 451 feet as opposed to the original 481 feet. Nonetheless, millions of people continue to visit the pyramids each year, drawn to their towering grandeur and enduring allure of Egyptian's rich and glorious past. Now, I'm going to show a video about what the Great Pyramids originally looked like as compared to what they look like now. In an effort to show how significant and brilliant these structures were, how important and defining they were of the time, and the relevance they still show today.
So. Any discussion, any questions? I'm not sure Betty's with us today.
So he's dead?
No, I don't think, I hope it's not that drastic.
He said he wasn't with us,
He's not online or in the classroom, so.
but I thought when people say he isn't with us anymore.
Oh, it could mean that, but. Oh, yeah, he's here. There we go.
He's not dead.
Yeah, no, that's why I like to double check these. He's here. So any questions? Well, in that case, it's 6 o'clock. We just have a couple more. Not all in yet. So. If I saw you guys again on Wednesday, would that work? Yeah, works for me too. So, thanks a lot. I'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Olivia's.
Good day.
You too, Nathaniel. Yeah, we're all good. So I was talking about Philo as a kind of love. You ever heard of the city of Philadelphia? That's out of that same kind of love. Philadelphia, it's a city of brotherly love, as they say.
Congrats, your dad.
You too.